Oh, hello. I would like to welcome you in my new video. This video is gonna be kind of an expansion of my previous video about motivation. I will link it for you down below. But if you didn't watch my previous video about motivation, it's not a problem at all. This is a video on itself, and I will kind of elaborate on one concept which I mentioned in my previous video about motivation, and I think this concept is very important and I think it deserves a full attention, especially if you are one of those people who just want to build good habits but you just keep failing and failing and failing and you don't know where's the problem. I will tell you in this video where is quite possibly the problem. I'm almost 100% sure that I know where the problem is if you keep failing repeatedly at something, and I will explain to you why is it the case and really present to you some arguments about why I think it's really good to approach habits in a gradual way, and I will explain to you what I mean. Also, if you're new here, this is my channel about personal development and self-help, and so if you're interested in this kind of topics, I would be really grateful and really happy if you subscribe to my channel. And I post regular videos once a week. And so I would start with my video about habits building and why do I think it's extremely important to build your habits gradually and not try to build your habits immediately. There is one thing which I think is really important, and it's kind of this kind of argument in logic, which is called false dilemma. I don't know if you heard about it, so I will briefly explain it. Imagine that, and this is something that is presented in any debate you can see on television, like especially in politics, but whenever you will see two people having an argumentation about something, maybe you will notice that one of them is going to use this mistake in argumentation, which is called false dilemma. It basically means that one person says some kind of statement. For example, I will give you a specific example so that you will know what I mean. For example, this person gives a statement, I don't think it's good when little kids are several hours in a day playing video games on their mobile phones. And then this might seem like kind of negatively, and so this other person who's in the debate, who's like opponent to this first person who said this statement, is gonna say something like, oh, so you don't like technology, so you are against technology and against all the progress, and you want to ban technology, and you want to ban kids from using technology altogether. And what basically happens, and this was kind of an extreme example, I gotta say, I know about it, but on television you will see this in more maybe subtle ways. But what basically happened here was that one person expressed his concern about one aspect of technology and how it's influencing lives of young kids, and the other person completely turned it around and he said that either you are completely against technology or you are completely for technology. So it basically looked like you can't have any objections towards technology, because if you do, you are against it completely and you want to ban it, which is of course not true. You don't have to be completely against technology. It's not like it's only two sides, like you are completely for technology or you are completely against it. There is this gray zone between these two things, and there are many possibilities and many approaches which you can have towards technology. And this is basically called false dilemma. Why do I talk about it in a connection with habits building? I talk about it because to me it seems that many times people think about habits building and giving up bad habits, losing weight, trying to build good habits, and all these things. They usually think about it in this false dilemma kind of way. They always think that either they completely rock it and they go on with their habits like 100%, or they completely give up. It's not only when you are starting a new habit. It's not like the example which I mentioned in my previous video, when one day you eat super horribly and the next day you want to push yourself and eat super healthy. It doesn't have to be only at the beginning, but it also can be when you are several days in your diet I'm sorry if if it bothers you that I'm using like examples with diet and if eating, but I feel like this is a problem for so many people that I just wanted to mention this as an example because I feel like it's really relatable for many people. And so it can also be that you are already on a strict diet and suddenly you have this urge to eat something unhealthy or something which you forbid yourself from eating. And suddenly there goes the scenario in your head. Basically, you started with this false dilemma. You started with one extreme replacing other extreme, and now when you have cravings, you again think only in black and white thinking. You again think only either I will go on 100% clean or I give it up completely, you know. And what happens to these people is that they jump up and down like these yo-yos throughout their diets. Is that one day they eat horribly, the other day they eat super healthy. They keep maintaining it several days, but then they drop it because they're not able to resist their cravings, and so they drop it completely. They don't drop it only partially. They don't say to themselves like, oh, I will eat this one chocolate, what the hell, or I will eat these chips, or I will eat this hamburger. But they drop the diet completely and they start to eat total junk like all day long, and then they start like again their clean eating, and this is like they go like this. You know, there's always like ups and downs and highs and lows, and this is basically the lifestyle of these people who adopt this false dilemma as a lifestyle, and they're not able to approach any change in their lives in a gradual way. Sometimes it can even look like this is the only way. You know, if you are maybe overweight and you go to some dietitian and you just to some expert and you're gonna ask them what you should eat and they will give you some plan, and this plan is gonna be really strict, and basically they expect you to be on this diet plan immediately and be really strict about it. Or if you go to the gym and you have a trainer there, he's also very strict and he wants you to jump on his fitness plan like immediately and keep up with it 100%. So it's not only when you are trying to have your own habits, but it also very highly spread in society, is that they trying to like make you change your habits all at once. But this is just not how it works. And I think it's maybe connected with the whole mentality of people living in Western countries, where they are so used to being comfortable and having everything right now. Like all the people would want to have like the perfect house right now, so they get a loan. They want to have the perfect things right now, so they get a loan to buy Christmas presents, or they get a loan to buy something else, and they just want to have everything now and they don't want to wait for anything. I know that there are exceptions to that. If you are an exception, then I'm not talking to you precisely, but this is like a very common phenomenon. People want to have everything pretty right now so that they can show it off on the internet to other people, and you know all this jazz probably if you're living in some kind of Western country. Then this is very prevalent. And so this might be connected also with this kind of mentality, and people not just taking into account that there might be other solutions that are not so like immediately amazing, but they can be sustained over a longer period of time. One point I promised at the beginning of this video is that I want to talk about specifically about people who are gonna claim to you that it's indeed possible to change your habits just like this, and one day like smoke 50 cigarettes and the next day not smoke any cigarette at all, and one day decide that they're gonna drop like 70 pounds, and then after a couple months they dropped it and it's all cool. This doesn't work, and I will tell you why. Even if there is a person like this who's gonna tell you that they just one day decided to drop their pounds and a couple months later they succeeded and it was amazing, then if you are friends with this kind of person and you can approach them and ask them, I would really advise to you, go to this person and ask them, okay, you one day decided and then you dropped all the weight, but for how long before this decision were you trying to give up your weight? You know, how long before that? Because it can be true that this person, when they were like, for example, 25, they decided one day to drop all this weight and they succeeded in a couple months. But also what is true, and what is highly probably true, is that before they were 25, they maybe wanted to drop their weight for a couple of years, but unsuccessfully. They were trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing, until they came to this one point where they were fed up and they just kind of pushed through it. And they maybe really dropped the pounds which they were talking about. But if you put it into context, and you should always put everything into context, because if somebody tells you that they dropped so many pounds in just a couple months, they're telling you only this little part of their story. They're not telling you the entire story. The entire story is their entire life journey. It's not true that they dropped so many pounds in just a couple months. What's true is that they were trying to drop all these pounds for like many years even before that. There were many unsuccessful years that these people are not going to simply talk about with you. They're only going to tell you their achievement, but they're not going to tell you all the precedent years where they were really overweight and struggling, and that it was hell for them. And it didn't last a couple months to drop this weight. It actually lasted much longer time. And if you wanted to have really the complete story, you could also approach this person 10 years from this point where they dropped their weight and see what they look like after 10 years. After another 10 years go by, you can approach this person and tell them, look, we talked like before 10 years and you told me 10 years ago and you told me that you dropped all this weight, so how you are doing now? And maybe this person is going to tell you that they weren't able to keep their weight. They were able to drop it in a couple months, but then they weren't able to keep it, and so they gained it back. And maybe then they dropped it again. But if you look at this person from like a perspective, like a longer time perspective, is this really the kind of life you would want to lead? Is this the kind of life you would want to have? Like you being constantly worried about this one aspect of your life, like your weight, and be going like this, like highs and lows and highs and lows, and be going like this your entire life and spend decades on it, just suffering and trying to change it. It's like, to me, it seems like, you know, at one point in your life, if you keep failing at something over and over and over again, there are people who either want to achieve everything immediately and they keep failing, and then they realize that they keep failing and they completely drop it and they like never want to talk about it again. But then there are people, and these people, you can be one of them, is that if you keep failing at something, at one point you can just stop for a second and be like, okay, as I spent 10 years trying to lose weight in this way, isn't there time now to try something else? Like, if you keep going, if there's a wall, I have a wall here, so if there's a wall and I would go against the wall once and I would hit my head and it would hurt and I would maybe fall down, and then I would stand up again and again try to go against the wall and fell down again, and then again I would hit myself. At one point I would have to stand up, look at this wall and be like, maybe the way is just not there, maybe I can turn around and go other way, try something else. You know, a lot of the times, and this is not only with when you're trying to build habits, but maybe you are trying to achieve something, maybe you are into sports or you want to have some business or anything like that, and you keep failing at something and you, for the life of you, don't know why, and you just maybe read some motivational book where they told you that you have to keep acing for the stars or whatever, and so you keep trying and trying and trying and it just doesn't work. So at one point you can just turn and not give up completely, because that would be again false dilemma. Either you go for it 100% or you drop it completely. But just stop and think about, is there any other way I could go? is there something else I could do? And if I was talking specifically about dropping weight, then yes, there is some other way. There's like, it's not a false dilemma. It's not either or. There's all this gray zone between that, where you can build your habits gradually. I talk about specifically gradual habits building in my previous video about motivation. So now, if you're interested in this, you can click on it. I will put it in description below this video, so you can specifically look at it. I'm not going to get into details about it here because I already spoke about it. And so there's all this gray zone in which you can kind of be, and you can try to find your own way and your own style, how you want to do it. It doesn't have to be totally black or totally white. It doesn't have to be like, once you failed, you were on a diet and you failed, and now you feel like you want to give it up completely. Instead, you should try to live with the failure, and maybe with time you will not see it as a failure, sorry, but you will see it just this one like stone on your way which you tripped over, but you kept going, you know. It's not like you have some kind of obstacle on your road and so you give it up completely. You can keep going even with this obstacle on it, and you just keep going, and because there's going to be another one and another one and another one, and just like this, like slowly, if you keep building your habit slowly, you will be able to go further and further and further. And maybe one day you will realize that whatever was that you were trying to achieve, it's no longer a problem for you because you became an expert on it, and suddenly you don't have to care for this thing because you aced it, and now you can do something else. And so this was basically the message of my video. I really sincerely hope that it came through really nicely. For some reason it was really difficult for me today to talk. Maybe because I'm shooting this video and it's already evening, so I'm not gonna be doing that anymore ever. I always shoot videos in the morning, so maybe that came into it. But I feel like I said everything that I wanted to say. I even elaborated some more examples than what I wrote in my scenario. And so I really hope that my message came through you. And if you're not gonna like immediately decide to change something, please at least try to think about it. Try to think about all the possibilities there are, because it's like in life you have endless possibilities. Don't be one of those people who just gonna only see like one or two possibilities and nothing else. Because usually the most obvious possibilities are those that are not so enjoyable. The most enjoyable thing you can possibly do is that when you find your own way, you know, somebody presents you option A and option B and this false dilemma, either everything or nothing, and you will say, you know what, no, I have my own way. I will choose from the gray zone in here and I will do it my own way. And I will like adjust, like some really specific machine. I will adjust everything on the way. And so I really hope, if you have any questions about this topic, if I wasn't clear enough, please ask me in the comments below. I will be so happy to answer you. I can even make another videos about motivation if something wasn't clear and I didn't express myself clear enough. And that's everything for me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I will see you next week with my next video, which is gonna be on Sunday. And if you enjoyed this video, you can give it a like, or you can subscribe to my channel. And I really wish you think more carefully about your habits, because it really can transform your life in amazing ways. And really try to work on yourself continuously, because you can slowly really get rid of all your demons and inner issues and make yourself free from all the stuff that's like bringing you down, and really be much more happy in your life. And that's everything for me for today's video, and have a nice now, and I will see you next week, hopefully. Bye.